The world is samsara, a mincemeat grinder of pain and suffering that eats everything that is born. And all of life is agony. All of life is pain. This is the mantra. And life herself, the entity standing watching over this giant mincemeat grinder, you know, the face looking down into the blender, the eyes, when you look up out of the mincemeat grinder, you look up at it, the demiurge ruling over it, is not some angel. Life is a schizophrenic monster that has no purpose or place, but that just enjoys perpetuating the suffering, that lives off the thrill of going forward, going forward, going forward. It is completely nihilistic and without purpose. Now, to get back to Nietzsche, to get back to the German yoga bunny, he did love all of this on some level. He found it very sincere and honest. He found it a cutting perspective on the world that rang very true. But he didn't agree with it on a fundamental level. He saw this confrontation with the world and this reaction against the world and this feeling of a need to deny the world and say that it's meaningless and empty and pointless and therefore bad and full of suffering and therefore bad. He would categorize this as life denying. So the world itself is in some sense meaningless, nihilistic. He sort of agreed with that. He said that this samsara idea is right. When you look and observe the world and see it for how it presents itself, yeah, that's actually what's going on. And his only complaint was that the judgment, the reaction to that the Buddha had and that Schopenhauer had, where they would say, well, therefore I value judge the world as bad. That's where his problem comes in. Nietzsche says that you can observe the world and see it like this, but you don't necessarily have to say that it's a bad thing. Just because it's without a purpose does not mean that we're in a negative situation, that all things are terrible, that we have to decide then to detach from this world. This is where he really starts to get into a sophisticated critique, and this is a strong grounding to Nietzsche's philosophy, a very interesting perspective that he took on things, a very crazy take when you think about it. Everybody's sitting around in their little Buddhist Tibetan, all the Californians sitting in their Tibetan mountain shack where they've, done some retreat that they found on the internet. And then this guy at the top of the class is explaining to them, oh, life is so terrible and we should all try to detach from it. And Nietzsche at the back, the German incel, is like, okay, I'm not doing it, man. I love this fucking shit. He's like an adrenaline junkie at the back. He's like, more. They're talking about how the lions killed the gazelle, and he's like, base. And out of this comes another amazing insight from Nietzsche, where Nietzsche is talking about this problem of truth in relation to the problem of fantasy. He has a cutting, pithy phrase where he says, we have art so we do not die of truth. Because in some sense, the truth of the world, as Nietzsche would see it, is this samsara problem, that it is this aimless, nihilistic, unconscious life force energy that's pushing us towards suffering with no purpose and no aim and no goal. And all human cultures sit within this. We are born within this without any choice, without any decisions. We just sort of are, we show up in here, as Heidegger would say, we are just thrown into this reality. We wake up inside of the blender and we're like, what? Look what just happened to that banana. Oh my God. Is this where we live? And in response to this, we have a problem where we need to participate in life. If we actually look at the world around us, it will depress us. It will turn us into Schopenhauer and Buddha, and we'll detach and we'll try to escape and we'll become life deniers. And so in order to keep us engaged with life, we have all these delusions. Nature tricks us by making us feel this irresistible urge to try side of people, and this desire to, these pangs in our belly to make us murder other animals, and these delusions inside of our head that make us fantasize about, the nature of the world. We romanticize things, we make things more beautiful than they are inside of our heads. We lie to ourselves on a fundamental level. And Nietzsche says that these lies are not necessarily bad, even though they're lies. And the truth is not necessarily good, even though it's the truth. This is something people are like, wait, but the truth's awesome. It's like, what? What if it's not? What if the truth is one of the worst things you can give to somebody? What if a lie is even better because it gets you to participate in life? What if somebody believing a religion that says to them that God has a plan and God has a purpose and God has, built this world, and don't worry, don't look at the lion, don't think about the lion are not part of God's plan. You're part of God. You're different. You're special. You're the chosen ones. You're the chosen people. Yeah, 100%. You just keep waiting and it's all going to turn out good in the end. You keep going, girl. This lie, this delusion, this romanticization that we're very, very prone to, is at the very least going to keep us participating in life. And in some sense, it's valuable if we value life. And Nietzsche says we should value life unconditionally, because we're not really at luxury to say if life is good or bad in the way that Schopenhauer and Buddha tried to do. It's a kind of nuanced point, but it's an amazing point. And he would look at the ancient Greeks in the same way. You know, the ancient Greeks telling all their stories about the heroes and making their theatre and all this. Their tragedies, where they show us big, grand stories of great heroes like Achilles and whatnot. This is seducing all of these young Greek men and Greek women to participate in life. The way that we romanticize even relationships inside of our heads. You know, when you look at another person, they're fucking, look at all that hair. They're hairy, they fart, they burp, they look, you know, they get old, they get saggy, they trip up over things. Sometimes they're dumb, they're selfish, they're unaware of things. Man is not perfect, you know? Women, men, we are not perfect, but there's something inside of us that's able to completely delude us about the true nature of what we're looking at, to stop us seeing all the flaws and imperfections inside of people. And instead we get caught in the honeymoon phase. We get caught in romantic idealism, romantic dreams. We look at people and we're like, wow, she's so perfect. Oh, he's so manly and perfect. Oh yeah, baby. The yoga bunnies and the yoga boyos are all getting all floozy with each other. We get seduced by each other, by our romantic ideals, and then later on in the relationship, sometimes that breaks down and people have awful problems. It's like, I've lost attraction to you. It's like, no fucking shit. It's a goddamn mammal that you're falling in love with. Of course you have. Of course you have. Samsara wins again, motherfucker. But you've made a baby, and so now Samsara's got another soul trapped in Samsara because you fucking idiot got caught up by your romantic dreams and hopes, and now life has got what it needed out of you. You've been used. Your womb was expanded and filled with another soul that is now trapped for the schizophrenic monster of life that can spend a life torturing and using to exploit others. Because that's what actually happens. Life has its goals, and you are irrelevant to life's goals. Life is happy to psyop you, to fill you full of delusions and dreams, to make you fall in love with idiots, to make you believe that there's a purpose, to make you get caught up in religion. To all of your emotions, none of them are trustworthy. All of them can be twisted and manipulated. Life fills your head with all sorts of stories, anything to keep you participating in life instead of confronting the truth. And Nietzsche in some sense was saying like how that might not be as bad as we think. If we're going to value life, we need to be able to value illusion, because illusion, art, dreams, stories, fantasies are the fundamental carrots on the stick that keep us chasing after life. And we need to be wary of truth, because truth is brutal. Truth, the reality of our situation, most people can't take that. When you give most people the truth, they become depressed. They cannot accept it. In fact, if you give them the truth, they will simply reject it outright. They will not be able to process it. They don't have this inner strength, and they will try to escape back into another fantasy. Nietzsche was talking about this with the God is dead problem, with the destruction of the illusion of Christianity that had kept the West motivated for so long. He was worried that so many people are not capable of spiritually of confronting the true reality of the world and samsara that they're eventually going to default back into something. They will invent Christianity again. You know, and this is basically what has happened. You see all these people call it, say, the woke movement, for example. They're trying to give life a meaning of some sort. So they come up with some type of abstract moral project for the world. They want to transform the world and overcome nature. This is their moral meaning that they make up. They make up these big stories because at least they feel like they're living as a part of something. And then people all trying to return. You see all the trads, they're trying to return back to a romantic ideal of medieval Christendom in Europe because that makes them feel that there's a purpose or there's something they're participating in. You know, they're escaping into the romance. It's very tough for most people to confront the real world as it actually is, to see it as this unconscious, aimless shifting of forces. And this is very hard because people are like, well, bro, you're not giving me much here. What? You expect me to just sit down and be like, what are you, bro? It's like, yeah, well, I'm a samsarist. I believe that everything's an unconscious, shifting, aimless point of forces. It's like, bro, if you're on a ship and the ship's about to crash, you're not going to be like, hail unconscious, nihilistic shifting of forces full of grace, please. No, you're going to be like, Jesus, I'm sorry I ever listened to Nietzsche. I'm sorry to ever listen to Buddhism. It's all cope. It's all delusion. Please just don't let me die under this wave. Life will have you in those points. People need something, and confronting reality and nihilism as it is in and of itself is too difficult for most people. And this is why Buddha and Schopenhauer are just so shocking. This is why Nietzsche liked Buddhism, because at least they're honest about this. But he's stresses this point. Just because the Buddha is confronting the truth does not mean that he had the whole picture. Nietzsche agreed that we lived in samsara. He got the foundations of most of his philosophy from Heraclitus, and some of the ideas here are so profoundly close to Buddhism. Heraclitus is, in some sense, this is a paraphrase now, saying that change is the only constant, that there is no world out there that we see. These static objects are never the same thing that we see. That rock is not that rock. Everything is always changing. There is a constant force underneath this all. There's a constant thing underneath this all that is what is real. This is what he called the logos. Now, an awful lot of people think of that as like some type of information, but instead he saw this as a fire at the center of existence. The water, matter, and air, these elements always are shifting between each other. You know, water is going from ice to clouds to water to ice to clouds to water, and the thing that is moving them between this is heat. The thing that is moving them between this is fire. Fire is the permanent entity between all of these things. Fire is God. Fire is the fundamental force that is driving all this stuff. Even people like Einstein is showing us with the theory of relativity that, you know, this rock that I'm holding in front of me, this lump of matter, is actually energy. Energy is this fundamental force. And all this is right now is energy moving so slow that I perceive it as solid. But this rock is the same as the lightning bolt in the sky. It's all energy on its fundamental level. There's this energy, this logos energy at the root of it. And so Nietzsche is saying that that energy, that logos, that fire, as Heraclitus said, is what is real. And we live in this world of this ever-changing energy all around us. When someone is shown up, they're this little quantum of energy or something like this. Everything is made of this. And everything that is made of energy is always fighting against other pieces of energy. Energy is always in conflict. It's always clashing up against itself. And this is another thing Heraclitus said. War is the father of all things. The nature of reality is conflict, is violence, is clashing and bashing in order to see things move forward. This is the nature of our reality. Now, of course, where the Buddhists negate this, they say that all this leads to suffering and leads to terror. Nietzsche affirms this. Nietzsche says that this is a good thing. Nietzsche says that this unconscious, aimless samsara, with this consistent warring forces inside of us, this is what we are, and we should participate in that dance. We should learn to surrender to it. It's a very hard paradox for us to hold. How can we be honest and truthful about what's going on? This is the genius of Nietzsche's philosophy. How can we be sincere and see the world as it actually is, see it as this samsara, and also engage ourselves in a seduction to life that delusion and lies offer ourselves? How can we take what is valuable out of the lie, valuable out of what is fake, and use it to engage ourselves into the world while also engaging with the truth and trying to ground ourselves in that in some sense? If we can make these two things marry, we might have a very powerful philosophy for the future.